Everybody loves a movie blooper. Classically, bloopers show that performers that we imagine being perfect in every way are actually merely human beings like the rest of us, and they're also really funny, of course. When we think of bloopers, however, we do tend to think of them happening in live action. But live action bloopers aren't the only ones that occur in Hollywood movies. While CGI is, on the whole, seamless in modern animated movies, the animators responsible for it don't always get it right at the first attempt, and that can result in some really strange, quite hilarious, and often fairly freaky effects occurring. Of course, those strange and hilarious effects don't make it into the final movie, so we rarely get to see them, but they are a form of blooper in their own right, and we'd love to share these examples with you, as well as throwing in a couple that were clearly done on purpose by animators to raise a few laughs amongst themselves, and a couple that simply looked terrible in pre-production. Here are 10 funny CGI effects that animators hide from you. By the way, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join the notification squad to make sure that you're always up to date with our great new videos. And before we start, can you guess the movie from these emojis? Stay tuned for the answer at the end of our video.
We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
Shrek. The Shrek movies are some of the most beloved in any genre of cinema, and the animation was nothing short of beautiful. The first installment in the franchise from 2001 is still arguably the best of them all, but you can definitely tell that it was an experimental time for the franchise's animators, as some of the early attempts at animating the movie's characters were shoddy at best. One example shows Princess Fiona looking absolutely horrifying with the bulk of her physical features missing. She is largely invisible apart from her hair, eyes, and teeth. It's real nightmare material. And another less creepy example shows her dress and body operating in completely different zip codes, resulting in her green CGI butt being on show for a brief moment.
60 portions.
Star Wars Episode 7: The Force Awakens. Visually, 2015 Star Wars Episode 7: The Force Awakens was a huge improvement on the Star Wars movies that came before it, which is obviously thanks to the fact that CGI has come on leaps and bounds since 2015's Revenge of the Sith. However, that doesn't mean that there isn't any shoddy footage available of the CGI prior to the movie's release. In this deleted scene, which was clearly never finished, Chewbacca rips off Unkar Plutt's arm, which is far too violent for a movie distributed by Disney and is probably why it wasn't included. Plutt, who was voiced by Simon Pegg, shrieks in pain, whilst looking distinctly like a character from a game on the first Xbox console. Game of Thrones. Of course, these days, it's not only movies that incorporate CGI, television shows do as well. Game of Thrones, for instance, uses some computer-generated imagery, including for some of the scenes involving direwolves. In general, the direwolves are a mixture of CGI and actual real-life dogs, but CGI is always used to make them look more large and imposing. In this unfinished deleted scene, there's something very off about Ghost, especially in the long shots, and it shows how, although you might think the dogs are always added in the scene for real, a lot of the time they're added artificially.
Ugh, it's hideous!
Oh, that's not very nice. It's just a donkey.
Shrek the Third. The first Shrek movie wasn't the only installment in the franchise in which the animators encountered some troubles, as these CGI examples from the third movie from 2007, appropriately named Shrek the Third, will show you. In one example, Shrek's usually short ears extend wildly and seem to have a life of their own. In another, Shrek stares at Merlin while the wizard's clothes disappear, with Shrek appearing to quite literally undress him with his eyes. And most terrifyingly, there's one in which Donkey appears as a ghostly, featureless apparition that's enough to send chills down anyone's spine.
Oh, come on! Shit, boy!
Brave. 2012's Brave is a charming movie about a 16-year-old Scottish princess named Merida. It's animated in typically brilliant Pixar fashion, but there were a few teething troubles. In these first examples, both of which involve a bear, you'll see what we mean. First, a bear stumbles over in a strange manner, just as everything in the background disappears. Second, there's a horrifying effect whereby the bear's face looks like it's made of jello. There's also a couple involving Merida herself. One has her looking seriously messed up. Honestly, she has eye issues that belong in a damn horror movie. And the other one shows her falling over absolutely nothing, with her hair distinctly absent. The Great Wall. Back in February of this year, a teaser trailer was released by Universal Pictures for their movie The Great Wall, which has yet to be released in the USA. The movie stars Matt Damon as William Garin, a man who teams up with a group of Chinese soldiers to defend their territory against monsters. The trailer was released willingly, but was subsequently removed and almost all traces of it have disappeared, because the CGI in it was so terrible that there was a fan backlash. Universal are now doing their best to hide the fact that it ever existed. There's a picture of the main problem with the CGI that viewers pointed out, and it comes in the form of a green monster that looks like it belongs in a PlayStation 2 game. Just look at the state of it. Ugh. Spider-Man. 2002's Spider-Man, the first of Sam Raimi's brilliant Spider-Man trilogy starring Tobey Maguire, remains one of the best superhero movies ever made, even amidst the current superhero movie boom. More impressively, the CGI still holds up fairly well today, but some of the early CGI work, which for the record can be found in the special features on certain versions of the DVD, had some funny bloopers in it. Some examples of what we mean include a CGI Spider-Man falling off a roof, a CGI Green Goblin smacking into a building, and a giant dog appearing and sticking out its gigantic tongue. Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. Okay, now this is just awesome. 1999's Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace was the first installment in the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and frankly, it wasn't very good. There was, however, one very memorable scene that came in the form of the pod race in which young Anakin Skywalker participated, and this test footage of said pod race is absolutely hilarious. It's a bizarre mashup of terrible CGI, puppets, actual pencil drawings, actors who were actually in the movie, and obvious stand-ins of said actors. Highlights include Jabba the Hutt looking ridiculous, the race announcers being CGI characters inside a drawing, and the puppet version of Sebulba.
Hello, Alice.
Alice Through the Looking Glass. The 2016 sequel to 2010's Alice in Wonderland was Alice Through the Looking Glass. While it was infinitely inferior to its predecessor, its aesthetics were every bit as beautiful. But this unfinished deleted scene showing how some of the effects were achieved isn't so impressive. The scene has Mia Wasikowska's Alice and shows half-finished CGI flowers, a setting created using a mixture of real grass and half-finished CGI grass, and Absalom talking in spite of the fact that his mouth isn't moving at all.
You were this close to losing your...
The Incredibles. 2004's The Incredibles transcends its animated tag, as it is flat out one of the best movies of the new millennium, period. The animation was exemplary, the story and characters were great, and it's definitely as good as most of the best live-action superhero movies ever made. However, some of the early attempts at getting certain scenes right went very wrong indeed. For example, Elastigirl is shown swimming through the air whilst inexplicably not wearing any pants. Jack Parr is shown repeatedly smashing his body against the Incredibles' plane for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And as for this last one involving teeth and eyes, we'd rather not talk about it. Seriously, what the hell is going on there? Thanks for watching our video about 10 funny CGI effects that animators hide from you. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, check out our buddies over at CBR. Their videos cover the entire pop culture spectrum and are just as great as ours.